hand to Mr. Eddy about the Okay, thank you for having me today, and I'm really honored. It is my honor to be here with some cases in Vietnam and as well as in Korea. Okay, so today's title is Empathy, it's motivation, source of commitment. It's a little bit far from the venture capitalist, but I think that's the fundamental. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'm a venture capitalist since 1999, and I had a lot of experience in the many companies bankrupt, and the 95% of the startup went to bankruptcy. Yeah, and also my clients suffered a lot of difficulties in doing the business, and I had all the time with them. Yeah, and we invested more than 60 companies to date, and some familiar name with you is NCSoft and Neighbor and the WebZen and E2s and the City Networks. Almost we provided the seed money for them and the become $1 billion company. And in 2000, I was very young, and what I was interested in is just to make money and to become a very successful the capitalist. But since 2004, I started my own company without any money. Yeah, just I have conducted an investment banking role for the Korean startup and to raise the money from the US and Hong Kong and Singapore and any other regions. And I realized that the startup is very tough, yeah, and always try to solve the problem. So that's what I learned. And since 2015, I went to Vietnam. I happened to go, yeah, and I tried to understand the fundamental economy and the environment of the Vietnam. And we invested in 7 companies out of 200. And I just want to give some the presentation about mainly focus on the Vietnam. Okay, the Vietnam, as you may know, the population is 92 million. It's a very, very big population. And as you see these cities, these 5 cities is just around the big city like Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. In aggregate, their population is almost 20 million. It's it's bigger than Jakarta and bigger than Seoul. So it's very potential, the power, economic power they have. And the young population is like a 42% under 24-year-old. It's crazy, right? Yeah, it's like it's the structure of their age is like it's a triangle. Yeah. So that's the potential of the Vietnam market. And the Ho Chi Minh City now the GDP per capita is like less than 3,000, but they expect that the forecast to hit almost 10,000. Yeah, 10,000 means 1/3 of the Korea as of 2017. It's a very, very big growth will be expected. And since 2014, the Handong University started to made a joint program, entrepreneurship program with Ho Chi Minh City University of Technology, which is the top university in Vietnam. It's named the Bách Khoa University. It's like a students like Seoul National and the KAIST. It's a top level university in Vietnam. And I was very impressed, and I was surprised that all they can write the code. Yeah, even the Korean engineers cannot write the code. Yeah, but they all doing like that, and they can manage the big data. Yeah, and they can make the application just one night. Yeah, so it's crazy. Yeah, so I was very surprised that, and I tried to teach some entrepreneurship first, but I made my mind to learn a lot from the students, and almost the year I met more than 200 companies and try to figure out what's going on in the Vietnamese market. And I just listen and learn and had a lot of lessons from them. As Dave mentioned that just the 1 year that we need to learn what's the problem in there. And this is just the landscape of Vietnam. And the many cars and the motorbikes mixed together. And this is a hospital. It's a very long line. It's almost 3 to 4 hours from the regional side to the Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi city to go to the doctor. And the credit card in Vietnam will increase, but now the less than 3% of the population that have the credit card. And less than 30% has used the bank account. So that's one of the problem of all the cash, the transaction society. So there's some payment problem and transportation problem and the healthcare problem and logistics and the war against the fake. Everything is fake. Yeah. So if you want to buy some genuine the items, they don't know, where it is. Yeah. So if you go Lazada and if you go Alibaba, they don't distinguish which one is fake or not. Yeah. So it's almost the same quality, but different prices. Yeah. So we found that these 5 are a big problem in Vietnam. So how to solve that problem? And we'd like to find the right entrepreneur who tried to access that problem. So but that's one of the definition of the startup. Startup is intended to differentiate established company from small business like a chicken chip or 동네 가게. It's such a restaurant operation is mature market. It's already proven. And everybody knows that how to operate that kind of business model. But the latter implements well-known existing business strategy, whereas the startup explores an unknown and innovative business model. And at the end of the day, their purpose is to disrupt the existing market. It's old model. So the Kwang and Dave already mentioned that the model is always changed and model evolves, and we need more the brand new models. And he is the legendary venture capitalist in US. Is the Kleiner Perkins. Is the 2 pillar of venture capital alongside with the Sequoia Capital. He's the John Doerr. His net worth is more than $5 billion. 5조 won. Yeah, and it's personal wealth. And he invested in the Compaq, Netscape, and Symantec, and Sun Microsystem, and Drugstore.com, and Amazon, and Int'l, and Macromedia, and Google. So yeah, he's the Midas touch. Yeah, and he defined there's 2 categories of this the founder. One is a mercenary, and one is a missionary. Mercenary always the drive and focus on the drive by the paranoia, but the missionary drive by passion. And the mercenary is opportunistic, but the missionary always strategic. And mercenary is always pitch the deal, yeah. But missionary pitch the big idea and partnership. And the mercenary, the business is like a sprint. It's a short run, but the missionary is marathon and long run, and they never stop. Yeah, and sometimes fail, but they try it again. And finally they reach the goal. And obsessed with the competition by the mercenary, but obsessed on customer and their problem. And the aristocracy of the founders, but meritocracy and best ideas wins. And always the mercenary they pay attention to the financial statements. Yeah, it's like a banker. Yeah, and our revenue is something and the net income. But the missionary is that they have a value statement. What kind of value we have? And loner, and you are on your own entitlement, and but the missionary has, or they are the mentors and coaches of teams and the contribution. In the whole life is like a marathon, and lost to make meaning and more success and significant. Yeah, it's not a social impact. It's very natural by the missionary startups like Google. Google's mission is to organize all of the information and more accessible and useful for the users. So that's their mission statement. So they are not focused on the search engine itself. They don't care about the technology itself, but the technology can help the people how to organize the information well. This is the Vietnam market's the food condition. It's all the food is all the poison food were there, very harmful. Yeah, and this is just how to deliver their product from the department store to house. So it's very hard, and this is a parking lot, so very crowded. So it's not easy to access the certain stores, and their refrigerator was very small. So they frequently they go and buy the certain food, even though they are very hot. Yeah, so it's some food were there was much problem in that food. So the access to the department store or the big mega store is not easy. The Chopp, the company we invested and we met. His name is Untitled. He studied in Louisiana University and worked with the Instacart founder. The Instacart is the grocery delivery #1 company in U.S. It's competing against Amazon. It's a $1 billion company. He worked with the founder of the Instacart, and he got a lot of lessons from them, and back to Vietnam and how to solve the grocery it's the poisoning food problem. And he made a company named Chopp. It's just a 1-hour delivery from everywhere. It's all the food has the original product. Yeah, but on the street, you should not take that food on the street because so many chemicals and all the comes from the China, and it will hurt your health. Yeah, so this kind of all the foods indicates that there's some origin of a product, and just a 1-hour delivery, without going to that mart like a 40 minutes or the 50 minutes. He has some financial problem because he had to pay the tuition during his study in Louisiana University, and he got a loan. So I bought his shares because I don't want to distract. Make him distract their business. They made the simple the application on mobile and attract a lot of the people who want to buy the grocery product. Okay, so the mission is to plan to make healthy food accessible in Vietnam. This is just a small start, but this is a B2C right now, but they would like to expand their business into B2B as well. And this is the Vietnamese healthcare system. There's many patients, and there's very outdated systems, and the shortage of a number of hospitals. It's a very long time to back and forth to the hospital. So hospital in major city in Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi City do not have the capacity, there's a much the existing medical equipment in public hospitals, but it's very outdated. And the Vietnamese public hospital rely largely on a state budget, but the country was very poor, so they cannot support the right budget. So most of the public doctors during the day they are in the public hospital, but after that they go to the private hospital and do some marketing, and diagnosis the patients and something like that. So there's no digital application to solve the right information, solve the problem, and it's providing the right information about the disease and hospital and the doctors. So this company, the ViCare, is ex-McKinsey, the management consultant, and Lazada is the largest, the e-commerce company like Gmarket or Coupang. Yeah, and he's a country head of marketing, and he founded the name the ViCare. He digitized all kind of information around the world, around the nation, and there's so many information about doctor and hospital and diseases, and almost a real-time communication between the doctor and the patient. Yeah, and they don't need to the 4 hour or 5 hours is coming in out from the region to the hospital, and they started the on-demand diagnosis, and they took the blood. It's like on demand. They visit the house by the nurse and take the blood and bring that blood to the lab and send some result as a paper or just on the mobile application. So it's all digital. The Medicare information they provided to the whole nations, and one of it's unfortunately we signed the investment, and he got married, and just the 10 days the honeymoon, and and he sold his company to other hospital. Yeah, so we couldn't send the money. Did the M&A, but I really like him. Yeah, and this is this is another example to solve the last mile problems, and this is the rocket we invested in Korea. They're developing the artificial organ, and finally successful. They developed it's a cartilage and the bone and the dermis and their iris, and they were together with the largest the German labs named the Fraunhofer and Harvard University, and he is the ex-Celltrion Healthcare CEO. He made the $60 billion company. The second largest company in Korea is behind Samsung Electronics. So the next year they're going IPO in Korean market. But his mission is not to go into IPO. Yeah, that's just the course of his business. He'd like to. He's a 60-year-old and just started his business, and he saw the life expectancy is very long, like 100 years or 120 years, is compared to the 20 years before. But he thinks that the pharmaceutical and medicine is not enough. He would like to replace all the organs by their own cell and tissues, and he finally success. And this is articular cartilage, the regeneration, and we successfully found that there's some the artificial tissues there. Yeah, and this is dermal regeneration, and this is we applied our technology into the human, and there's some scars, and if we apply that kind of technology into our skull, they replaced it. Yeah, so and they have all not just driven by the money or driven by the success, but they would like to help other people how their health cares, and not only the certain the part of the people, but also all the peoples around the world. So it's a global company. So this is the last the video I would like to show. It's Anthony Atala. It's Wake Forest Institute's the doctor, and one of the gentlemen that they've introduced to me worked with Atala. So it's a great video. So I'd like to enjoy. I'd like you guys can enjoy this one.
In computerized form, so we go layer by layer through the organ, analyzing each layer as we go through the organ, and we then are able to send that information, as you see here, through the computer and actually design the organ for the patient. This actually shows the actual printer. And
this is a 3D printer, the 7 hours that being operated to print the liver, it's kidney.
You can actually see the printer back here in the backstage. That's actually the actual printer right now, and that's been printing this kidney structure that you see here. It takes about 7 hours to print the kidney, so this is about 3 hours into it now. And Dr. Kang's going to walk on stage right now, and we're actually going to show you one of these kidneys that we printed a little bit earlier today. Put a pair of gloves here. Thank you.
Yeah, this printed kidney structure is like a prototype, but I think it can be realized within 30 years.
So
yeah, this is a real kidney printed by the 3D printer.
You can actually see
that kidney is printed earlier today.
So you can transplant this into your body, and then you can you become a very healthy. Yeah, and this is a real case of
seconds of a patient who actually received an organ.
I was really sick. I could barely get out of bed. I was missing school. It was just pretty much miserable. I couldn't, go out and play, basketball at recess without feeling like I was going to pass out when I got back inside. It was...
He got a very bad problem of his bladder. It's
basically a lifetime of dialysis, and I don't even like to think about what my life would be like if I was on that. So after the surgery, life got a lot better for me. I was able to do more things. I was able to wrestle in high school. I became the captain of the team, and that was great. I was able to be,
Anthony Atala has printed the bladder for him, and the transplant into his body. It become very, very healthy, and it's 9 years before that he transplanted. There was no problem. Yeah. He's on the stage. Yeah, so he met Tony Atala again. And
so, Luke, before last night, when's the last time you saw Tony?
10 years ago when I had my surgery, and it's really great to see him.
Yeah, okay, this is the great story about the 3D printer. It's a technology, and we invested, and we can get a lot of return from them. But I asked him to commit another the 10% of these shares after exit, to accumulate for the society, and we can aggregate all kind of the founders' the stock. After exit, just $1 million to $10 million, so we can get sometimes it's bigger than the $1 billion, and we can distribute this to develop a certain social impact at the end of the day. Okay, so this is my presentation, and if you have any question. Okay, I think it's the main money is just one side, and the other side is always to try to solve the problem of the people. And there's many ways to address this kind of things. So, I'm just standing some points in between the social impact and the venture capitalists who only seek the money. But I'm a little bit oriented toward the social impact.
So first, thank you for a good lecture. And I was quite surprised by the fact that more than of the population are under 24 years old. And in terms of this perspective of social impact or social enterprises, what do you think is the biggest potential of this fact that there is a huge young population?
In Vietnam. Yes, I think it's the 20 million users and the population lived in the very, very developed the cities like Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi, but the rest of them, 80 million. Yeah, the population lived in the urban side and as a rural side and has no benefit from the all kind of healthcare and all kind of digital the assets and there's no way they cannot be protected by the government and no transportation there. So there's so many people who are in the very bad condition. Yeah, so I think it's we can do for them, and not targeting the 20 million people, but the 80 million people that we should focus on. So the third case that I couldn't explain because of the time limits. They are targeting the last mile delivery, the very low cost for the 80 million users, not the 20 million. So there's so many things we can do for them, I believe. So not detail, I don't know yet. Yeah, but I try to figure out.
Okay, so thanks so much for the great presentation.